International Business, Masters of Commerce, second semester, Mangalore University, session 16. International Business Decisions. In this session, you are going to learn about the reasons for the firm to go abroad and deciding to go global. Learning objective to discuss about the reasons for the firm to go abroad and deciding to go global. Session outcome, the students are able to understand about the drivers of international business. Reasons for the firm to go abroad. The production of goods and services has increased around the world due to a number of factors, particularly globalization. Many companies have gone beyond their national borders to have operations even in remote corners of the world. McDonald's, Subway, Kellogg's, Walmart, Tesco, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi are some of the best examples in this regard. The drivers of international business are as follows. The first is limited home market. When the size of the home market is limited, either due to the smaller size of the population or due to the lower purchasing power of all people or both, the companies internationalize their operations. Similarly, a company which is mature in its domestic market is driven to sell in more than one country because the sales volume achieved is in its own domestic market is not large enough to fully capture the manufacturing economies of scale. For example, ITC Indian cigarettes majorly capture the European market. Second, excess of production. Some of the domestic companies expand their production capacities more than the demand for the product in the domestic market. In such cases, these companies are forced to sell their extra production in foreign developed countries. For example, Nokia is an international company based in Finland whose production capabilities were very large compared to the population of Finland. Similarly, Toyota of Japan has a large export market. Third, global marketplace. International business has become easier since the advent of the internet and the emergence of e-business. In order to do business internationally, a company must have a good product, the right strategy, and an appetite to take a risk in the global marketplace. Fourth, emerging markets. Compared to developed countries, developing countries are growing at a healthy pace, thus reducing the barriers of trade. Emerging markets provide an unexplored marketplace with unlimited potential and scope for business. Any company with good or innovative products and services cannot afford to ignore the opportunities provided by these emerging markets. Car manufacturers like Toyota, Suzuki, Mercedes, etc. have set the production facilities in India. Growth in market share. Some companies would like to enhance their market share in the global market by expanding and intensifying their operations in various foreign countries. The smaller companies expand internationally for survival, while the larger companies expand to increase their market share. For example, Coca-Cola has bottling plants almost all over the world. Higher rate of returns. The main objective of any business is to achieve profits. When the domestic markets don't promise a higher rate of profits, business firms search for foreign markets where there is a scope for a higher rate of profits. TCS of India earns more profit through its global operations than through the domestic operations. Political stability. The political stability means that the continuation of the same policies of the government for a quite long period. Business firms prefer to enter the politically stable countries and are restrained from locating their own business operations in politically unstable countries. Next is technology and communication. Technology is the principal drivers of the international business. The availability of advanced technology and competent human resources in some countries acts like pulling factors for business firms from other countries. Advanced information technology has transformed our economic life as well as in the business sector. Advanced communication technology such as the internet allowed the customer to get information for new goods and services easily. Besides, falling communication costs allow the information move quickly and inexpensively. For example, American and European companies in recent years have been dependent on Indian companies for the software products and the services through their business process outsourcing. Next, ninth is transportation. We live in a global village. Improvement in transportation technology in air, sea, and rail systems help the growth of the international business. The transport system has reduced the traveling time and increased the efficiency of transferring goods. A businessman from Mumbai can go to Dubai to do his business and come back to Mumbai on the same day. Similarly, goods can be transported beyond the national borders on the same day. The cost of ocean shipping have come down due to the containerization, bulk shipping, and other efficiencies. The lower unit cost of shipping products around the global economy helps to bring prices in the country of manufacture close to those in export markets. Changing demographics. Most developed countries face challenges in sourcing workforce as the average age of the population is getting older. In the next 10 years, most of the industrialized nations will have to depend on sourcing its workforce from countries like India, China, and other countries where the population is young with an abundance of skilled labor. India is a chief source of workforce with English speaking graduates and other diploma holders. Next, 11th is liberalization of economic policies. Most of the countries around the globe liberalized their economies and opened their countries to the rest of the globe. Old forms of non tariff protection, such as import licensing and foreign exchange controls, have gradually been dismantled. Borders have opened, and average import tariff levels have fallen. These change in the policies attracted import tariff levels have fallen. These changes in the policies attracted multinational companies to the extent their operations to these countries. Many of the world trades are currently done through free trade, bilateral, and multilateral agreements. Interestingly, countries which were very hostile or unfriendly to foreign investment a few years ago are inviting other countries for inward foreign direct investments. China is a very good example in this regard. Trading blocs. Formation of various regional and international trading blocs like the European Union, World Trade Organization, South Asian Free Trade Agreement, and North American Free Trade Agreement have resulted in increased regional cooperation. These trading blocs promote business within their scope by facilitating free trade zones, which literally eliminates any trade or investment barriers. Regional trading blocs like SAARC also facilitate easy movement of goods, services, and human resources within the region, thus providing a uniform opportunity to all the countries for proper allocation of resources. Difference in tax systems. The desire of businesses to benefit from lower unit cost labor and other favorable production factors abroad has encouraged the countries to adjust their tax systems to attract the foreign direct investment. Many countries have started tax holiday schemes in foreign investment projects. Last is a cultural exchange. People travel to different countries and share their cultural beliefs and practices with each other. Through this process, cultural assimilation takes place, which drives globalization and international business. McDonald's and KFCs were unknown to India a few years back. Now they have become part of India's life. Deciding to go global. In recent years, it has virtually become a fashion for Indian companies to go global. According to statistics, despite great confidence and enthusiasm, companies soon find that going global is much more difficult and thorny than they have expected. Therefore, the question is not so much whether to go global or not, as how to global more successfully. They should not go global just for the sake of going global. Indian companies have both successful and unsuccessful experiences on their road to globalization. First, why we should go global? India is a big market. Companies must justify when they choose to go global. Is it to create value for shareholders or to whitewash the performance of for personal gains? Is it for expansion of the market or acquisition of key resources like energy, technology, gains, technology, talents, and brand? Different indicators will be used to measure their company's success for different motivation. The key success factor is that the company should clarify their strategic intention before going global. They should know clearly why they should go global. Strategic intention includes the following aspects: growth. Many companies look to international markets for growth. Introducing new products internationally can expand a company's customer base, sales, and revenue. For example, after Coca Cola dominated the US market, it expanded their business globally starting in 1926 to increase sales and profits. Second, employees. Companies go international to find alternative sources of labor. Some companies look to international countries for lower cost manufacturing, technology assistance, and other services in order to maintain a competitive advantage. Third is resources. Some companies go international to locate resources that are difficult to obtain in their home markets or that can be obtained by a better price internationally. Fourth is ideas. Companies go international to broaden their workforce and obtain new ideas. A workforce comprised of different backgrounds and cultural differences can bring fresh ideas and concepts to help a company grow. For example, IBM actively recruits individuals from diverse backgrounds because it believes it's a competitive advantage that drives innovations and benefits customers. Fifth is diversification. Some companies go international to diversify. Selling products and services in multiple countries reduces the company's exposure to possible economic and political instability in a single country. When the strategic intention is clear, the next critical factor is whether a company meets the prerequisites for going global. What are its competitive edges and what enables it to secure a position in the world's arena? Is it low cost or economy of scale resulting from industrial integration or technical strength? The next thing to consider is what we can do and cannot do when going global. Possibly, it is more important to think clearly about what we cannot do. For example, it cannot emphasize the brands. It may face the antitrust law if it lays too much emphasis on its brands given its large market share. Here are very important decisions to be made. One is where we should go global, developed or developing countries. The other is what we should go globalize. If it is financing, then we have an easy solution. Just get listed in Nasdaq, Hong Kong, or Singapore. This way, we needn't step outside India, or is it the research and development, manufacturing, or sales and services? Based on these two decisions, the Indian companies have four important choices in its globalization. The first choice is to build the production bases in developing countries such as Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines to take advantage of the local labor and to strengthen the global manufacturing capacities. Indian companies, however, do not have such a need as India's labor cost itself is low. For companies in mainland India, this should not be the mainstream choice. The second choice has often been used by the Indian companies to leverage their manufacturing strength to provide customers from Europe and North America with B2B, exporting or outsourcing services. Indeed, we need to extend our manufacturing advantages into the worldwide markets. The third choice is that a company should try developing countries when it decides to go global in its brand and services and products together with manufacturing. The fourth choice is to use its existing brand to expand to developed countries in Europe and North America. The above four choices bring about different challenges to companies. For example, it is more difficult to enter the market in developed countries than in developing countries. The greatest challenge and difficulty is how to change the low quality image to Indian products in the mindsets of Western consumers. Indian products are often associated with low cost and low quality, but also its services and brands. It needs to build its own marketing channel, manage its own inventories, provide maintenance services, and create a brand image that can be accepted by the consumers. Therefore, the choice made when going global is critical. The best thing to do is face the reality and take appropriate measures according to our strength and resources.